in the open that are not seeking cover might in fact lose the entire team. No, it pulls back just in time. And we see further Rangers moving in, a small Ranger squad having been sent in to support the 3rd Armored Division, which is apparently suffering a lot of damage, but so far no actual armored elements, only armored cars, so I suspect this is probably only the reconnaissance elements of the 3rd Armored Division fighting versus reconnaissance elements of the 10th SS Panzer Division. Certainly a fitting battle. Although the Panzer Grenadiers do have the advantage with their veterancy, although the Americans do have the advantage with having more gear and more men. Mortar half-track moving in to support, opening fire on this small redoubt of sandbags and barbed wire, causing some damage to the Rangers. In fact, 3 men already down due to accurate mortar fire. And another down, just keeps on raining in. Anti-tank half-track in the rear. And a fun thing to note about the anti-tank half-track, it wasn't actually meant to really disable tanks, it was actually meant as the command variant of the half-track platoons. Would course deal some anti-tank, but it will also, I believe, be fitted with high explosive shells, so it's a bit interesting, of course, to just mention that. But the Panzer Grenadiers have driven off the Rangers for now. Certainly going to buy them some time, although now engineers with flamethrowers are mucking about. And we see another M8, but very few riflemen and no medic stationed to perhaps, you know, keep rate of attrition down, and of course keep further riflemen in the battle. Perhaps a slightly unfortunate choice by Hanoo, who has done alright, although of course himself being a bit unfortunate with keeping tabs on his troops and sending in his armored cars a bit too unsupported. Rangers recuperating alongside the riflemen, really going to need to reinforce. And we see BARs being equipped to the riflemen, although currently not a lot of riflemen, so might not be of that great use. M8 out in the open in the water, engine destroyed by the anti-tank half-track, really bad move, and now completely immobilized. Engine burning, and the M8 being quite the exposed target, in fact, and completely wrecked. Gunner ejected and disappearing into the river. Rather tragic. And in the background we see the riflemen moving in, apparently ready to share the fate of their armored brethren. We see the Rangers gearing up fully. No Thompson submachine guns, though, being equipped, could perhaps be of help against the Panzer Grenadiers, who don't really have any assault or close support weapons, meaning that Rangers with submachine guns could overwhelm them with firepower if used correctly. They do provide a lot of anti-tank firepower, though, and will probably easily deal with all of these half-tracks if they can catch them. Of course, that is the small caveat that actually needs to be there, that they can get close. Of course, Oberstkarl has been a bit unfortunate in the maneuvering of his half-tracks, and of course I just switched, sorry if I did not warn you, but I'm curious to see if Oberstkarl has gone for any company doctrine, and he has not. Apparently opting to wait. Rangers now moving towards the center, where numerous armored cars litter the landscape. Rangers standing around, not seizing the points at the very least, or seeking cover. And now they're going for the points. Riflemen having some luck in the north, going straight for the fuel point and cutting off Oberstkarl from his only other high yield fuel. Rangers pulling back in the face of Panzer Grenadiers. Small fighting in the south as the Kettenkraut is engaged by the riflemen. What is going on in the American base? Not much. And in the support elements have arrived. A Panzer IV infantry support tank ready to support the... yes, a lot of support to move in and deal with some of this infantry with its low velocity, high explosive shells. Going to do a lot of damage, locking down, allowing all of the crew to focus on reloading. instead of such worrisome things as driving around and maneuvering. Decimating this rifleman squad quite violently, and for some reason Hanoo is not pulling it back, despite giving so many chances to actually get it out of there. Finally, the last two are completely wiped out, and the Panzer IV is ready to move on once more. The Panzer IV F1, the last variant of the Panzer IV to actually have the low velocity, high explosive rounds and low velocity gun, of course. The low velocity gun having that advantage, it can fire larger explosive rounds, since the higher velocity of the gun, the thicker the cap needs to be on the shell itself, and of course since the gun is only of a certain size, and of course the shell is, that means less space for explosives, meaning for example the Panzer IV infantry support tank will of course be much better at dealing with infantry because of more explosives compared to say the really high velocity gun of the Panther with its also 75mm gun. That is of course something to keep in mind out of curiosity. Of course, Thompson submachine guns have been equipped for the Rangers, doing a lot of damage from cover. Moving in close, perhaps should consider seeking a bit of cover out, or at least standing still. Riflemen moving in as well with BARs, forcing the Panzer Grenadiers to retreat. And we see the Panzer IV moving in to deal with the mortar rounds raining in as well on the American infantry, who are out in the open on the riverbank. The Opel Blitz still bobbing along right there in the edge. Panzer IV locking down once more, knocking out a Ranger right away. And Riflemen standing right in front of it. Not really a good idea, and but has apparently been ordered to target the Rangers. Will it kill or will it not? Does indeed get the final Ranger, sending him head down into the concrete floor of the bridge. Painful, I suspect. Kettenkraut going for the northern victory point, and we see a tank depot going up for Hanoo. No anti-tank guns, but apparently going straight for the tank depot. So will he actually get a tank, or will he get a tank destroyer? And if he gets a tank destroyer, will he think that because it has the name tank in it, think it can work like a tank, instead of realizing there's something called tank destroyer? We'll have to see. It's always interesting to see how some go about things and how they use tank destroyers. Still no doctrine for Oberstkarl's 10th SS Panzer Division troops. Going to be interesting to see what will happen. Panzer Grenadiers advancing to the south, and we see the M18 Hellcat. So he's certainly gone for the tank destroyer. Now the question becomes, will he use it as an tank destroyer, or will he use it just as a tank? That will of course be the interesting bit. Will he also upgrade it with the 50 caliber machine gun? And there we see it, M18 Hellcat rushing away, although not as fast as it will be after the patch, where it will get a proper speed upgrade, which will certainly mean it's a lot more useful than compared to, for example, the M10, where currently it's actually a bit below, since it doesn't have the same level of penetration or the same amount of speed. Hellcat face to face with the mortar half-track. Mortar half-track haven't even chosen any veterancy bonuses. M18 going to hunt it down, and we see the tank destroyer company being chosen, and Hetzer's being called onto the field. And Hetzer pulling back towards the base. Curious. We see Kettenkrauts hanging around, and we see the Hellcat charging in without any support, not really proper working. And I suspect this is what I meant when talking about tanks. Apparently he's using it as a tank, completely unsupported, and even then tanks should be supported, in particular tank destroyers like the Hellcat, which has rather thin armor. Even with the 50 caliber machine gun, it's not really meant to just take on things on its own. Anti-tank half-track knocked out of control, crashing into a small tree. Hetzer slowly crawling forward. Will the Hellcat pull back, or will it stand out in the open without further support? Seems like it. Panzer Grenadiers moving into the south, completely unopposed. Very little infantry left for the American commander, it seems. Looks like the M18 was trying to do something against the flak Fearling, but it's now being faced with the Hetzer and the Panzerschrecks. Really needs to get out of there. Already suffering some damage from the Hetzer and not able to penetrate the heavily sloped armor. And a Panzerschreck rocket knocks out the M18 Hellcat of the American 3rd Armored Division. Apparently had no success calling upon elements of their tank destroyer battalion. You see the Panzer IV infantry support tank hanging around a bit for some reason, not really doing anything. American infantry trying to seize this victory point. Not a lot otherwise for Hanoo. His forces seem decimated. Let's go have a look. Perhaps he's going for the off-map combat group. Yes, indeed, having chosen it, and is clearly working his way towards getting the resources for it. 300 manpower away, so this is certainly going to be a bit dead until so, because he has only 2 teams, 1 ranger team and a very, very, very decimated engineer team. Quite horrible and certainly not good. And we see an observation post on this low yield fuel point, a waste of manpower in particular considering his current situation otherwise. We also see that he has upgraded supply yard. Not a bad move for sure, but he rather lacks the infantry to actually make it worth the while. Now Rangers being attacked by the Panzer IV and are facing off Panzer Grenadiers as well. Anti-tank half-track moving in. Rangers getting slowed. Oh dearie me. Not looking good for the Rangers. Dropping a bazooka, and last Ranger being flung into the river by a high explosive shell. Quite tragic comic, and he will never be seen again until some poor Dutch fisherman pulls him out sometime in the future. Oh, so very quiet. We see the Hetzer hanging back, really not having anything to do, and there we go. Off-map combat group rifleman team, anti-tank gun, M8 armored car and M18 Hellcat, ready to take on the might of the German forces. Tank destroyer group with reconnaissance elements, it seems, and running straight into the Hetzer. Will he take up the fight? And we see the 57mm anti-tank gun moving in to join the fight as well. M8 standing and M18 as well. Again, not really sure what he's doing, trying to play the tank job, it seems. 57mm anti-tank gun having a bit of trouble deciding where to stand. M8 really needs to get out of there. Heads are heavily damaged, but really Hanoo needs to do something drastic, inflict some catastrophic loss to Oberstkarl's 10th SS Panzer Division, or it's all out for him now. He really needs to do something decisive, and Hetzer might go out, but it might not be enough. And it makes its getaway with a damaged gun and not a lot of health left. Observation post going down. M18 sneaking about. Moving up to this ridge and opening fire on the Panzer IV infantry support tank. Scoring a rear shot, and we see the 57mm anti-tank gun also trying to hit it, but the Panzer IV dashes away to